OuiShare Radio.
Spread the word, spread the word.
Connecting the OuiShare community around the world. OuiShare Radio.
It's actually a tangible way of changing our lives.
So good morning, people. Actually, good afternoon. This is another earth-changing, shattering OuiShare radio podcast, and I'm sat here with Sian. What are you doing this next month?
Next month, I'm campaigning to be Mayor of London.
So that
slightly more than full time.
That trashes my usual opening question, which is, what are you known for? What would you like to be known for?
Okay. Right, well, I'm known for being a Green politician. I've been a Green politician for about 12 years. Currently a councillor in Camden, and I've been a transport campaigner for a long time as well. And I'd like to be known for being the first woman, first Green Mayor of London.
Hurrah! And so would I. I was trying to think how to do this, and because we have to at least attempt to remain politically unbiased, but I am a card-carrying member of the Green Party. So what I did is I emailed lots of people last night and said, what would you ask the next Mayor of London?
Yeah.
And they said, I thought Boris was standing down. But so I'm going to go through this list of things here from different friends around the world. So the first one is from Alex Hillman, who runs a co-working space called Indie Hall in Philadelphia. And he said, besides voting for you, how can Londoners help you make London better?
Well, that's a really good question. Is it Alex? Thank you, Alex. We are all about, in the Greens, empowering people. We're about getting ideas up from the grassroots, helping people to help themselves. So one of the policies I'm putting forward as Mayor is to start a London Renters Union. The government aren't giving us the powers to control rents, but if we help fund a renters union to support private renters, then they can use the tools that they have, the existing laws, to look after themselves. So there's loads of things coming up in the next mayoralty that are really important for the next mayor to do. And one is rewrite the London plan. So I would say to anyone who wants to know what you can do to help is get involved in rewriting the London plan with me. We need to rewrite all the planning rules, the strategy for London for the next 25 years, make a huge difference to how London develops, and it affects everything. It affects homes, green spaces, what spaces we build for new businesses, how we organise our transport. All of it is going to be in this London plan.
How can people get involved in that? Because I find it very hard to get involved in anything when people said things like that.
Yeah. Really, well, the traditional route for this is that the mayor will go away, write it, and then put it out for consultation and ask for comments. And that is not the way to do it. I think we need to be going to local communities and asking people the fundamental question: how do you want London to be in the future? And from that, how do you want things to be? What rules do you want? What restrictions do you want on new developments? What positive things do you want to put forwards in terms of investment and things like that? And really get the answers from the grassroots before you even start to draft it. And so hopefully, if I was mayor, I'd be organising lots of local meetings, trying to get any local group that you're already involved with, or any stakeholder group. I'd be coming to talk to you and saying, send us your ideas.
I always wondered, is there just a certain type of person that responds to that type of thing?
There can be, and again, it's really important that whoever's organising the work that you're doing to talk to people is going out and reaching people who won't normally engage. If you just buzz a consultation online and you let the usual groups know, then you'll get responses from the usual groups, and you'll get responses from the people who are paying attention to your consultations online, and that'll be it. And your average person in the street, your average young person particularly, who doesn't pay attention to what's going on in City Hall or what the local council is doing, you won't get their input, and so you'll end up with a very biased plan. So you've got to go out and reach other groups in other ways. And I think things like there was a launch yesterday of a tool called Verto, or was it day before yesterday, by a group called Bite the Ballot, who are all about trying to get young people more involved in politics. And that's an app you have on your phone where you just answer questions about what policies you think there should be, and it tells you which candidate matches you best, and explains the voting system, and it's just really good.
That was around the general election, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Bite the Ballot are a really, really good group.
Oh, I love that.
There's lots of other groups like that who are doing more to get young people involved in politics, and we've got to support them all.
I was relieved to find out. I filled it in, and I was scared of filling it in case I came out as
Did you get me?
I haven't done the one for Mayor of London yet.
Oh, okay.
I did come out as a Green Party thing, but
Good.
I still wondered if I was answering things in that way. There were a couple of things. I'm going to move quickly on to Sue Butcher, who's a who used to be a practice manager and architect in Essex, and now she's campaigning for collaboration in the construction industry. And she's really lucky. She was the first person. I was the first person she followed on Twitter, and now she has 25,000 architects following her.
Whoa.
And I've got like 12 people who work in social media. So Sue asks, living in London is so expensive. Do you think the advances in technology and flexible working practices are enough to help the low-paid cope, or is there more that should be done?
Well, no, I mean, it definitely brings opportunities for people to earn money in different ways. The flexible working I think is a really, really good thing. I'm going to try and get more employers signed up to flexible working, so that's really important. But we've got to be protecting the basic conditions of work. There's a thing, so Uber are a good example actually. They're a
That's a key word.
Yeah, keyword Uber.
That's a trigger word.
They're quite a, they let you sign on to be a private hire driver. You get given jobs on the app. You work when you want to. That could be a useful way of filling in your income if you want to work flexibly. And actually, the way that they work, they recruit so many drivers. They try and drive down how much they pay to drivers. They're constantly changing the terms and conditions. They're not really treating the drivers like workers. In fact, when you talk to them, they won't call them workers at all, or employees. They were calling them partners, and now they're starting to call them customers. Yeah. So you've got to watch out for, if you are working, you do have rights, and you have to be able to stick up for them. So we need things like a minimum wage for London that is the London living wage. We need to be making sure that employers who do treat people badly are named and shamed, and that we do more to help people. So it's not simply leaving it to the market, because in the end the most powerful people in the market will start to dominate, and that's not good for anyone.
So there's two things. One's about Uber and one's about your hair going in your food.
Oh, pardon me. Sorry, I'm eating my dinner at the same time as talking to you.
So things like Uber, they say, what triggered my question was they say partners, customers, and employees. So what do you think the people driving those cars are in your opinion? Are they micro entrepreneurs or independent economic agents?
There's a whole range of people, and this is a very knotty question what we do about Uber, so I've actually been speaking to literally everybody and every side of this, and one of them is a group of drivers who are organising, and they are people who've worked in the private hire industry for a while and see the opportunity of working on Uber and getting extra jobs, but are feeling the fact that Uber are starting to squeeze the drivers, so they're organising with a union, and they're trying to negotiate with Uber, and they're liaising with other groups as well. And I think, they are people who want this to be their job for a living. I think Uber probably has thousands of other people who do it more casually. But even so, the amount you earn per hour goes down and down and down. If they're recruiting more drivers than they have jobs, then you wait around a long time for a job. And so in Camden, where I'm a counsellor, there are issues with Uber drivers parking, waiting for jobs. And in theory, that should never happen. According to Uber's really efficient algorithm, you should never wait more than 2 minutes for a job if you're a driver or a passenger. But that's actually not true. The drivers do spend long periods parked around King's Cross Station waiting for jobs to come up. And that's disruptive. So we've got issues there.
Well, what's interesting is where I live in sunny Essex, you never wait more than 5 minutes for a car, and I think a different type of, it's a different type of driver that would be in each place. Because there's one thing to circle around King's Cross Station where there's millions of people getting off, and there's another thing to be waiting to drive baby Bernie to school. And not we do that often, viewers, but every time I get in an Uber I say, what's this like? And in 2 or 3 years of whatever it is, they always say this is way better, because I can just sit in a cafe, see there's a job, go out and get it. I don't have to sit in a smoky, stinky thing. And
I used to work in a mini cab office when I was younger, in Cheltenham, and it was very smoky and stinky, and it was always you're controlling people by radio, and it's very, very inefficient. And the app thing is absolutely marvellous. So it's got potential. It's just that some of the ways that Uber organise, they're out to make money. They're very capitalist, and so we have to keep them in check.
So I'm going to move seamlessly on to, you mentioned apps there and how efficient it is. And Antonin from France asks, Ask us something. Yes, you wrote this down. Ask us something like, does tech enable a renewed vision for sustainability? Like the open source moment and stuff like that.
I think it does. I think there's a whole load of opportunities there. I mean, Uber's the example of sharing car journeys. That could be a fantastic way of making driving and transport around London more efficient if it was people sharing journeys they were making anyway and reducing, filling up cars with more people. It doesn't massively work like that, but it could do. And they've just started Uber Pool, which is a step on the way to that.
Can you think of another example other than Uber?
Oh, right.
I'm sure you can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's other things like, share apps where you might share tools, goods. Someone I know tried to set up an app where you'd say, look, I've got a lawnmower.
Yep.
Can you borrow my lawnmower? That sort of thing. I think there's lots of ideas out there that London can help with. London, I keep talking about transport because London runs its own transport. That's our major power in London is running transport and running housing, and it does mean we have a whole load of data that we should be sharing, and we have a whole load of information that we can make available for other people to use in entrepreneurial ways to improve sustainability. And one of the things I want to do is set up a solar power company. I want to be getting electricity from community solar projects, putting lots of solar panels onto TfL stuff. I think with that company you can look at ways of doing smarter grids, things like putting batteries in people's homes, helping people to be more sustainable, but helping people to come up with their own ideas and link up with others and use data that you've made open in the first place.
Something like that. Is that so you become mayor? Is it mayor or mayoress?
It's mayor.
Yeah. That was very 21st century of us. So, when you become the mayor, is that getting a project like that going? Is that like a sort of 5-year thing, or can you do it in the first couple of weeks?
I mean, it all takes time, but you do have the power to, create a budget for it, put people onto it, that sort of thing, and it's a powerful job. It's funny. It's like a very executive role. You are genuinely managing London via the various agencies. So you're in charge of Transport for London, but somebody else is also the CEO of Transport for London. Yeah. So you work with them very closely. Same goes for the police and the fire. Those are the other things you mainly control, and also housing. We now give out the housing grants that the government supply, and we can raise some of our own money towards those as well, which is another thing I want to do. But yeah, you do have budgets and project money that you can put into this sort of thing, and it's quite exciting. I mean, I talk about giving London back to Londoners as well, and that's the weird thing about this job is that it's a very powerful job. It's an executive job, and it's not really the green way. So what you would do with that job is hopefully devolve power to more people, draw examples from the grassroots, and put those forwards as well. You can decide how you make the decisions.
That's one of the most interesting things about the green momentum on here is the trying to develop a horizontal city, or a horizontally powered city, if that meant to say the right word there. So giving people a voice sounds a bit cheesy, but I think people should be more involved in. I would hope that people want to be more involved in their local community, rather than just being drip fed what might happen to them.
Yes.
I feel we're very passive citizens.
Yes, we are in London, and we shouldn't be, because there's so much scope with a city that's very densely populated, where if you have an idea, probably within 5 miles of you, there are lots of other people who'd be interested in that idea. Bringing groups like that together with a common interest, or bringing people together whose common interest is they live in a particular area. It's all really, really important stuff. I like localism. I like the neighbourhood forums that are springing up. There's 2 in my council ward, and there we're making plans for our very local area. It's much more fine-grained than the London plan. It's literally what kinds of pavement we want and what we want to happen to this junction. And that's really, really exciting. That actually the process of putting a neighbourhood plan together empowers people to actually come up with those kinds of ideas.
Do you know Lumio?
Lumio?
Yeah.
No, I do not.
I'll link in the show notes, folks. There's Lumio is how we make decisions in OuiShare, which I'm finding amazing. It's like a collaborative decision-making platform. So Bernie will have a great idea, and whereas even like last year's Bernie would go and say, we're doing this, I have to put it up, and I have to briefly put it up, and everyone can comment on it and that kind of things. So we just did one for a project, and it went in a very different direction, but it's liberating.
Yes, you don't know what you don't know, do you, until you go and until people bring it to you.
Which is really tricky, because I thought I knew everything. So,
I'm sure Boris thinks he knows everything, and this is the thing. We've got to have a different approach. People feel like this is like this is the way that the election's going as well. There's a lot of focus on the two main candidates and who will run London, and I think it shouldn't all be about a person. It should be about an approach, and the Greens have the right approach.
Exactly. We're going to talking of the right approach. Will Chamberlain from Hackney says, we're going in a dynamic change of direction here, ladies and gentlemen. So, Sian, what are your plans for food waste, recycling, and how do you say that? And I'm dyslexic, so I can't.
Anaerobic digestion.
Thank you for saving me.
Strictly, the Mayor of London doesn't have power over waste. That's all the local councils who run that, and you'll know that if you live in one area. If you live in Hackney for a while, or then you move to Camden, you'll find that your bins are organised in a completely different way, and that's actually not a good thing. It'd be much better if we had a coordinated waste system for London. The Mayor's power over this is more persuasion, more bringing people together to talk. I'd love to have a common source of information about where you get what happens with your bins. The Mayor can control things like, do we give incinerators planning permission, and if we don't, things like anaerobic digestion then become much more viable. I think the companies that are out there trying to do incineration are trying to do it for financial reasons. It's the cheapest thing for them. There are actually financial incentives to burn stuff which comes down from the government, and that's completely crazy.
Why can't let that go by? Why are there financial incentives for burning stuff?
Because you get back the land. There's a landfill tax on putting things into landfill, and then there isn't one on things that you burn. Even if they're perfectly good things that could be recycled, you still save the landfill tax, and that's actually there should be less of there should still be a tax on burning that incentivises things like anaerobic digestion in favour, and there isn't. The financials push you in that direction. But I think people who work for firms like Vividor, who want to build an incinerator in Croydon, they're the sort of people, they go to waste management because they're quite interested in doing it well. And I think they would be interested in this other stuff if we can push it to them, and if we can make the planning rules such that we're not going to give their incinerators permission, which Boris Johnson doesn't do. So I think we can have an influence in that way. The other thing the Mayor can do is use some of the economic development money to pilot new things. So I was speaking to a guy recently who wants to use maggots to devour food waste.
How long would that take?
So this isn't producing gas the way that anaerobic digestion does. What this does is it produces maggots who can then be turned into food for animals because it's protein. Not that humans want to eat the maggots, but and that's another way of turning food waste into something that's useful. Now this man wants to pilot this stuff. I think the Mayor could put seed money into piloting things through economic development funds, but we don't have the power to wholesale employ it as the way we do waste because it's the councils who decide.
Like the whole of Hampstead Heath would be a maggot farm or something.
I can't even hardly say the word maggots, but I'm sure it's a good idea.
So there you go, Will, and more on that later. So what's
after I've had my dinner.
Yep. I can't get the word maggot out of my head now. So Elena, my buddy, asks, what's more important, jobs or income? And the question around tech and bullshit jobs, and whether her focus is around making more jobs and making more people have enough to live decently.
Well, you want both those things, don't you? You want minimum standards for jobs. You want to be able to set a living wage for London. That's a compulsory minimum wage, and you want to make sure that everybody in London, isn't made to work all the hours there are for a job that doesn't actually help give them enough to live off. So we've got to be working on all of that. Housing comes into it as well. We've got people paying 60, 70, 80% of their income on their rent. I'm a private renter as well, and that's not good enough. So we have to be building more homes that people can afford to live in as renters and then afford to buy.
If you don't mind me asking, why do you rent? Because you have a castle in Scotland, or
No. I rent a small flat in London because that's what I can afford to do. I've never been able to buy a place because I've always worked for campaign groups and charities and I've had a very big salary, so I've never been able to save up enough, and I've not had family money either, so I've never saved up enough for a deposit, and the more I wait, the further away it gets, the idea that I might buy somewhere.
That's why I brought my luxury Essex apartment, because I had to get it before I got in any more shit.
Yeah, I've left it too late. I definitely have.
The house I used to live in, places I used to live in Camden was about 20 years ago. It was 110,000, and now a friend of mine sold it a few years ago because he's in real estate for something like 650,000. And at the time, we thought about buying it. We were like, four lads who live together, and probably if we'd stopped going out so much, we would have been able to.
You see, back in the day, when I first moved to London 20 years ago, me and a group of friends, we rented a 5-bedroom house in Archway.
Yep.
It was entirely affordable. The first 6 months I lived in London, I worked as a temp. I didn't have a very good job, but I could still afford to rent the big room.
50 quid a week?
No, it was no. My rent at the time was £100 a week.
Yeah.
But even so, that was affordable to me. I could earn easily £200 or £300 a week as a temp, and yeah, it was fine. I had lots of money for going out and all that kind of thing. And now it's really a struggle for people. I mean, people just don't have enough money for any kind of going out, any kind of spare money for holidays or clothes and things. A lot of people are struggling really, really badly just to get by day to day, let alone save up for things like a pension or a mortgage. It has to be dealt with, and I want to create more jobs. I mean, we haven't talked about small businesses yet. I mean, I have to, as Mad, try and generate a more resilient economy where we're not dependent on people like HSBC threatening to leave and take away their financial jobs. We need financial jobs, but we don't just need them. We need to be generating more smaller businesses, more entrepreneurship, and new industries like solar, making sure that works, and also reuse and recycling businesses and. More manufacturing within in the city, a more circular economy where we're keeping the resources going. All of that's really compatible with what business wants.
Let me pin you down about the business thing, because that is a huge topic for my two listeners. How much does the corporate Canary Wharf city thing? Because we're always led to believe that if they left, London would be over. But do they? How does it all work?
It is a very big part of our economy. It is a lot of our jobs, but more than half of our jobs in London are with small businesses, and a lot of those small businesses are sole traders.
When you say half, is that in terms of people? Is that? I can give you a little background. It's about 10 years.
I can check. I've got the FSB's report.
Excellent. I'm stalling so she can get it out. I think. So about 10 years ago, I did. I was part of a project in the King's Cross area, and there was something like 250,000 businesses registered within a 5-mile radius of King's Cross Station. So I imagine half of London's small businesses would have been at least 252,000.
I think that's right. Let's have a look. Just looking at the executive summary. Okay, this is what I've got the FSB's asks for the mayor. Which I've got lots of.
No, because the last time.
Do you want to keep talking to me while I flick through this? It's a big.
And we're back in the room. So we just thumbed through the 15 million page report from the Federation of Small Businesses and discovered it on the front. So.
Front cover of the report says 99.3% of nearly 1 million small businesses in London are small businesses. So that's a huge portion, and it's more than half the jobs.
And what was the other exciting statistic about living wage?
Oh yeah, another interesting statistic in the report is that 61% of small businesses pay all their employees a living wage, and that's interesting because people always assume that small businesses can't pay the living wage, that it's going to be a terrible burden on them, but actually most of them are already doing it. They're not registered as living wage employers, but they're paying it anyway because they value their employees.
So in your experience in business and working in co-working places and things like that, and running projects, what do you think the biggest problems small businesses and freelancers and co-workers and all those micro-entrepreneurial independent economic agents, what they're called today, are?
I mean, the overwhelming thing that comes across from what they say is premises are under threat. We've got the government doing new planning rules which let you convert offices into housing, and if you think about the housing market in London, which we were just talking about, it's so much more valuable. Even if a business is a going concern, if you were to convert it into housing and sell it off, you'd be making a huge profit, and that would probably dwarf the profit that you're getting from the business over several years. So it's one of those things where you can't just leave that to the market and you can't just let it be converted. You've got to be preserving the spaces that small businesses need to start up in and then to grow into as well. That's when businesses want to grow, that's the point in which they can't find affordable premises.
And how much? This is an off-the-cuff question here, so sorry. How much financial support of here's your? I've been victim / luxury of government financial support, and quite often it's been I haven't actually needed it. I've just been kidded into thinking I needed it, or I often feel there's things that a government can do that will support us business growth more than just throwing money at people.
Yeah, and I think a lot of things that people do, like these incubator funds and things like that, they're very. They get turned off and on. There's a tap that gets turned off and on.
That's
and
what I meant,
it's not actually a good, sustainable way to do things. I think actually providing the core things businesses need, things like affordable premises and broadband. Broadband is a massive issue for all the businesses in London. It's very, very poor in most places, and it's a bureaucratic nightmare trying to get it put into a new premise as well. That sort of thing. If you can just make the conditions right for small businesses, protect them from the market forces when it comes to premises and things, then they can end up generating a lot more for the economy than what you've put in. And I think giving grants and things is not perhaps the best way. Although I'm up for supporting new sectors and things, especially if they need to get over a hump. So things like the government withdrawing the feed-in tariffs from the solar industry just when it was almost at the point of being viable. Again, that's turning the tap off and on. It stops you being able to plan. If there's a trickle, and it's a trickle, and it's going to carry on being a trickle for 20 years, you can live with that. But if it's like a flood and then it gets turned off, that's just instability. It's no use at all.
So I'm going to settle into our last two questions here because we're running low on time. So Kat Johnson, who's a freelancer friend of mine, says, how can city officials better support collaborative organisations, including but not limited to co-working spaces, which we kind of just touched on there, but are people co-creating things together? I'd like to think we're moving towards a more everyone working on a project together thing rather than some top-down corporation one-man type thing. So with that really crap question that I've just hashed and capped.
How can city mayors help it happen? I mean, again, you've not got any power over this, but you can set an example. You can make the public resources that will help those businesses and those kind of projects available. So things like open data are just really, really important. And if London's got a thing called London Data Store already, where quite a lot of things get put up, and there are a number of APIs that are really useful that TfL put out that lots of people make apps out of and things like that. There are many other areas where we might bring together data that's already out there and then put it into a format and make it available. And I think London should have a digital. I've said I want to put a digital officer in London, a deputy mayor effectively for digital, and I hope they would be doing many more things like that. I mean, the digital hustings I went to recently, which I did very well at, incidentally. I did used to work at a digital startup, so that's the first thing I was able to say was, actually, I know what you're talking about here. But yeah, the digital hustings, there was a lot of focus on practical things like broadband and premises and things like that. But I think also having a specific deputy mayor whose only remit is looking after those industries can make them think a little bit more creatively about how we bring together public sector, private sector, voluntary organisations and people who want to work together in online and offline and in lots of different ways to help sort of build that sector up and build up the sharing economy more generally and make things more open.
With the digital thing, I spent a lot of the time in the last 5 years going over people's websites and looking at them, and there's loads of small businesses and NGOs and things like that, and they're so far removed. Not necessarily, that's not what I mean. They don't. There's so many easy things they can do to get into an efficient website, but the advice they get given from different places is rubbish.
Yes, that's the sort of thing.
Solving that one.
Yeah.
And we're going to close with Neil's question. Neil from Shareable is, how can... What are you going to do to... I feel like rude asking this. What are you going to do to help London share more so they can reduce resource consumption and save money? And this is the bit I really want to get to, is get to know each other better. We were talking a little bit about the example you gave in Highgate about how people are just choosing which pavement to have and stuff like that. But I feel we're defragmented as a city?
We are. I mean, I think a lot of the things I've talked about have touched on this issue, actually, and I think we do need people around London to be collaborating more on more things and feel like there's a lot of activity out there at the moment. I'm really inspired by a lot of the ways that Londoners are working together, but so much of it is like firefighting. It's campaigning to stop things that are bad from happening, and I'd much rather we had big groups coming together. So at the moment we've got a lot of housing campaigns out there who are trying to stop estates being demolished, who are trying to save the homes that are under threat, and actually I'd much rather people were getting together and planning, working with architects and surveyors and people that City Hall provide. I've got a plan to put a unit in City Hall to help with this, planning the future of their local areas in a much more positive way, and not just fighting campaigns. And I think there's a lot we can do there as well, getting people with a common interest around London working on things that are building a better future, not just stopping the worst of what the government is doing.
Does London... Do you think London suffers from being a bit of a transient city?
Yes, it certainly does. I mean, if you look at the figures on, for example, voter registration, because now you have to register yourself individually, and the household can't do it, and your university can't do it for you. We've seen really big drop-offs in some of the London boroughs in the number of people on the electoral roll, and that's partly because, you'll be left, if you stay in your same house, you'll be left on the roll, but if you move into a new house, you've got to go through that whole process again. And it's a real issue, and there are more people moving around London, and the borough thing is interesting too. A lot of things are run by the 32 boroughs, but nobody, when looking for a house, goes, I must be in the boundaries of this borough. They'll often move across borough boundaries, and then things will change, and how things are organised will change. So we've got to. It's about leadership. It's about having a mayor that wants London to work better as a unit and gives that vibe out as much as anything else, but also puts in place some places where people can come together online and not.
We're going to knock it on the head there. Whatever you do in is it May the 5th?
May the 5th. Don't forget to vote.
That's my mum's birthday. May the 5th. Don't forget to vote. Even if you don't work for Sian, just go out and vote and take part. It's really, really important. And where's the best place to find you online?
Sianberry.london.
How do you spell Sian?
Sian is SIANBERRY.
And then any other groovy links to go to?
You should go to London Green Party as well, which is london.greenparty.org.uk.
Lovely, jubbly. And the OuiShare Radio is brought to you by the world's sweetest smelling collaborative economy festival, which is in Paris on the 16th to 18th of May, where we get 1,000 people from all around the globe, from big shiny corporates to little makers, jamming together for 3 days of talks, workshops, and I'm sure there'll be some nice food in there somewhere. Thank you very much for listening, and be excellent to each other.
Thank you.
There are many events, projects and conversations in the OuiShare community, and we're doing our little bit here to connect you with even more of them. Come and say hi on Google+, Twitter, Facebook, or use #OuiShare Radio.
Spread the word.
Spread the word.
It's actually a tangible way of changing our lives.